I remember standing in that boardroom like it was yesterday, not 3 years ago. The morning had started like any other morning in the mansion. Alex's side of the bed was cold, the way it always was. He'd left for the gym at 5, something he'd started doing about a year ago, always coming back smelling like expensive cologne instead of sweat. I should have known then, but I was too busy running a company to pay attention to my husband's lies. The shower in our penthouse was all gold and glass. Cost $90,000. My stepfather, Victor Langford, had announced that fact at dinner the week before, naturally. He had a way of dropping those details into conversation like breadcrumbs, each one leading you deeper into his world of wealth and control. That morning, I chose a black dress. Victor had always said he liked dark colors on his team. Bright is for clerks, he'd say, that cold smile playing at his lips. The ride to Langford Towers took 20 minutes through Manhattan traffic. Tom, our driver, knew better than to make conversation. That was Victor's rule. No chat with family. Everything had to be perfect, controlled, quiet. The building shot 60 floors into the sky, glass and steel, a monument to my stepfather's ego. I'd spent 10 years climbing those stairs, proving myself in every boardroom, every deal, every battle. Chief Growth Officer. I'd built that position from nothing. I'd increased company profits by 40%. I'd sacrificed everything. My career dreams outside this company, my marriage, though that had turned out to be more one-sided than I'd realized. My assistant, Ben, was waiting at my desk with coffee already prepared. Morning, Gladys. Dubai files ready, and we need to talk. Something in his voice made my chest tighten. Ben closed the door and showed me his phone. An email from midnight. Not company-wide, just for department heads. Restructuring in 6 months. My job, eliminated. Nathan Brooks, Ben said quietly. Victor's old college friend. Starts in 6 months. I felt the ground shift beneath me, but I didn't let it show. I never let anything show. Does Alex know? Ben's eyes answered before his mouth did. Yes, my husband knew. My husband, who had been copied on the email. My husband, who had said nothing. There's more, Ben continued, pulling out a folder. My accounting friend slipped these to me. Bank records. Money transfers. $10 million moving to the same offshore account every month for 2 years. And they were signed with my name. Except the Y in my signature looped wrong. Too round, too careless. Someone had forged it. Victor. I whispered. We can't prove it yet, Ben said carefully. But Gladys, you're being framed. I looked at that signature, seeing my life splinter into pieces. We're going to plan. Plan what? Everything Victor taught me. It's time to use it. Over the next month, I did something I'd never done before. I listened. Really listened. To Ben. To Paul from finance, who'd noticed the money moving in shadows. To Tara from HR, who'd seen the restructuring memos. To Mike from tech, who discovered the encrypted emails between Victor and Nathan discussing how, once G is gone, the merger starts. The merger with Apex Group. Our top rival. He wasn't just firing me. He was selling the company. I called Kelly Price. She'd worked for the government once, before she moved into private investigations. We met in a small cafe in Brooklyn, far from the tower, where no one would recognize me. I need proof, I told her. Fraud. Theft. A conspiracy to dismantle a company. She looked at the folder I'd brought, and her eyes widened. Against Victor Langford? That's a war. Yes, I said quietly. It is. I'll help, but I need complete access to the systems. Ben can get you in, I said. What followed was the most dangerous and deliberate 2 months of my life. I went to work every day and played my role perfectly. Good wife at dinner with Alex. Brilliant executive in meetings. I watched Victor plot my destruction while I gathered the threads of his crimes. Tara noticed the layoff signals first. Mike noticed the tech irregularities. One by one, I brought people in. People who'd been passed over for promotions because Victor valued blind obedience over talent. People who'd seen their work stolen, their ideas erased. By month's end, 38 of them were collecting evidence. Quietly, carefully, building a case that Victor would never see coming. Victor loved shows, loved the drama of power. So I knew exactly what he'd do. He started small. My parking spot disappeared. Repairs, he explained. My budget was cut. Save money. Each move was clean on paper, a masterclass in corporate destruction with no fingerprints. Then came the note. On the eve of the board meeting, a silver dress appeared on my bed. Flashy. Not me. The note was typical Victor. Wear this to the board meeting. V. My funeral dress. Grace, Victor's wife, found me staring at it that night. We hadn't been close. She was trapped in her own gilded cage, but she understood something. Don't wear it, she said quietly. He expects it. Beat him by surprise. I wore my navy suit instead, the one from the Tokyo deal, the one that had always brought me luck. I'll never forget walking into that boardroom. All 40 seats filled except mine, which was empty, symbolically. Victor sat at the head like a king, Nathan to his left, Alex to his right, still refusing to meet my eyes. I took my seat anyway, third from the left. Victor's smile was ice. Let's begin, he said. He presented reports, numbers, new deals. And then came the moment he'd been waiting for. Change is coming, he announced, walking to the window where the city sparkled below. Some rise, some leave. Layoffs, Paul asked. Growth, Victor corrected. Fresh ideas. Profits are up 40%, Tara said calmly. Thanks to Gladys's plans. Victor's smile tightened. Or despite them. I stood. Say it, Victor. He turned to me, and for just a moment, I saw surprise in his eyes. He hadn't expected me to challenge him. He was used to control, used to fear. I will, he said. Sit down, Gladys. So I did. And then he began. He didn't just fire me. He tried to destroy me. Fake signatures. Missing money, embezzlement, fraud. Each accusation was carefully crafted, backed by forged documents that I had to admit were impressive in their detail. He was thorough. He was vicious. And he was very, very public about it. Security will walk you out, he said, savoring every word. Your things will be mailed. The room was silent. 38 faces stared at me with a mix of fear and pity. I stood. You taught me well, Victor. How to read deals. How to find weak spots. How to crush your enemies. And yet you lost, he said coldly. Did I? Paul stood first. Then Tara. Then Mike. One by one, 38 people rose from their chairs. They walked past me. Walked past Victor, walked toward the door without a word. Stop! Victor yelled. His voice cracked. Stop right now. But they kept walking, because they'd realized what I'd realized. Loyalty beats fear. Always. The last one was Ben. He stopped directly in front of Victor and set down a small flash drive. What is this? Victor demanded, his voice shaking. Ben smiled. Everything. Victor plugged that drive into the boardroom screen with shaking hands. What appeared next was 3 months of meticulous documentation, emails between him and Nathan about the merger. Bank transfers. The forged documents showing his handwriting overlaid on top of mine. His communications with Apex Group discussing the price they'd pay for a compromised company. Alex stood. His face had gone pale. Gladys, what did you do? I showed the truth, I said quietly. You destroyed everything. Victor screamed, but his voice sounded small now. Desperate. No, I said. You did. I simply proved it. Nathan tried to leave. I stopped him. Your name is all over those emails, Nathan. You're staying. My phone buzzed. Kelly's text, FBI is 6 minutes out. Victor saw my expression change. You didn't. I did, I said. Kelly Price doesn't work alone. She called them the moment we had enough. I gathered my box of personal items, just a photo of my parents and a small plant Ben had given me years ago, and walked toward the door. Behind me, Victor tried to grab my arm. His grip was desperate, weak. I pulled away without effort. Gladys, Alex called. We can fix this. We can. No, I said, turning back to him one last time. There is no we. There never really was. I signed the divorce papers he handed me with Victor's own pen, right there in that boardroom. The ink didn't even smudge. By the time I reached the lobby, federal agents were flooding in. Kelly Price stood near the entrance, professional and calm. My team waited outside, 38 people who had chosen truth over comfort. We did it, Ben said, his voice small with disbelief. We did, I confirmed. Now we have to save the company. The board chair, Mr. King, called within an hour. Miss Langford, we need to talk about leadership. My office, I said. 1 hour. Bring the board. Actually, bring them to my office, and tell them to wait. I have some people I want them to meet first. I brought in all 38. Mr. King looked at the small army of ordinary people with extraordinary courage, and I watched him understand something fundamental. The company hadn't failed because of bad finances or poor strategy. It had failed because it had lost its soul to a man who believed fear could replace loyalty. The board voted, he told us. We need a new leader. Someone we can trust. Here are my terms, I said, and I laid them out clearly. My team gets the positions they've earned, full control with no board interference, and all of Victor's dirty money returned to company accounts. He agreed to everything. 2 weeks later, I sat in what had been Victor's office. Same view of the river. Everything else was different. The news broke fast. Billionaire Victor Langford arrested in massive fraud scheme. Langford Group saved by whistleblowers. The headlines were everywhere. My team and I became something of a legend, the ordinary people who'd taken down a billionaire. Grace came to see me a few days later. She'd filed for divorce from Victor after 40 years of marriage. Thank you, she said simply. For what? For showing me that I had a choice. We're in the same boardroom now. New chairs, cleaner lines, but the same space where everything changed. I'm older, I hope wiser. My team is older too, but they still show up every single year on this date to remember what we did together. The company is thriving. Profits are triple what they were under Victor. Our name means something different now. Trust instead of fear. We've expanded to 15 cities. We've won awards. We've hired people who actually want to build something meaningful. Paul has grandchildren now. Tara won a major legal award and manages our compliance department with ruthless precision. Mike's app that he developed during those dark months just hit 1 million users. Ben has a corner office and smiles every single day. And me. I'm happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way I never was in that golden mansion with a man who couldn't even look at me. Alex tried to contact me last year. He wanted to apologize. I didn't respond. Some things don't deserve closure, They deserve to be left in the past. Victor is serving 20 years. He wrote me a letter once, expressing remorse. I never opened it past the first line. His apologies don't matter anymore. What matters is what we built in his place. People ask me sometimes how I did it. How I managed to coordinate 38 people without Victor discovering the plan. How I stayed so calm when he was destroying me in front of everyone. The truth is simpler than they want it to be. I loved my people more than I feared Victor. That's it. When you're building something real, something honest, people will stand with you. Not because they're afraid of what you'll do if they don't. Not because you've manipulated them or promised them things you can't deliver, but because they believe in what you're building. That morning in the boardroom, my team walked out not because I'd orchestrated some brilliant revenge plot. They walked out because they'd seen the truth, and they chose it over comfort. That's the real story. Not the conspiracy. Not the dramatic takedown. The real story is about people choosing each other. I woke up in my modest apartment in Brooklyn. I sold the penthouse months ago, and I had coffee with Ben on my fire escape. It's cold, and there's a view of other buildings, not the river. It's perfect. Remember that day? Ben asked, his hands wrapped around a mug. When the glass broke? Every day, I said. Best thing that ever happened to us. I thought about that. How one moment, one decision to fight instead of accept, had changed all of our lives. How 38 people had chosen courage over comfort. How loyalty had beaten fear. The sun came up over Brooklyn. Somewhere in the city, somewhere in a prison cell, Victor Langford was waking up to his new reality. I didn't feel vindictive about it. I just felt grateful. Grateful that I'd found out in time. That I'd had the strength to do something about it. That I'd found people willing to stand beside me. Best thing, I agreed. And it was. 4 years, I accepted a seating chart that wasn't mine to accept. I let Victor define my worth, my marriage, my purpose. But here's what I learned standing in that boardroom. Respect is non-negotiable. Your value isn't determined by who believes you first, who gets the promotion, or who shares your last name. 38 people saw the truth beneath my silence, not because I screamed it, but because I lived it. Patience became my power. Boundaries became my revolution. If you've been gaslit into invisibility, if someone has made you question your own perception of reality, this message is for you. Your silence doesn't make you weak. It makes you strategic. Your boundaries don't make you difficult. They make you self-aware. And your survival, your absolute refusal to break when breaking seemed inevitable, that makes you extraordinary. You were never the problem. The system that tried to erase you was. The real victory isn't what I took back. It's what I learned, that loyalty earned through respect is unbreakable, that standing alone is sometimes necessary before 38 people stand with you, and that your worth was never in question. It was only ever waiting to be remembered. So remember it. Own it. And when you're ready, share this with someone still learning to believe themselves. Because the revolution happens when we decide to write our own endings. Subscribe for more stories about finding your power in the silence. Your extraordinary life is waiting.